Hey everybody, this is Jose here. So obviously no need to say, I've been disconnected. So I am resharing my screen. I believe at this moment in time, you should be able to see my screen, hear my voice. If that is the case, please, let me know. Let me know so I know we are back to be connected and I can restart with the session where I found myself talking to myself. Okay, so I will want to make sure that this time I am actually talking to you guys. Both good? Okay, perfect. Let me double check something here. Let me just other stream. So if you know any of your colleague traders that are connected in the session today, and you are connected with them, you know, on Skype or WhatsApp or any other communication tool, please let them know that we are in the other stream, because I believe that not everybody is connected to the right stream. Let me send them a message as well. Yeah. Okay. So guys, one final confirmation, if that's okay. Could you please confirm now that you see me and you hear me? I believe everything should be okay, but I do need that confirmation, guys. Sorry to repeat myself, but it's important for me to know. So please type yes, yes, we hear you, Jose, something like that, so I know it's all good. Okay. Good. That's good. Perfect. Okay, guys. So let's continue. Let's continue, because we have a trade ready here to be planned, and we certainly can talk about, you know, the technological problems and the consequences of the technological problems, but at the same time that would be wasted time. So I would say let's go ahead and focus on the trade. Even though that was not very comfortable for you guys. Okay, so anyway, so US dollar, Canadian dollar, this is the trade we were going to plan. You know, if the Canadian dollar goes back up and hits those UFOs, those red UFOs, not the first one, but definitely the second one, is going to be aligned with the moving average, and therefore this would be a trade that potentially could work very well for us. Okay, now notice that sometimes those averages act, as we discussed many times, those averages act very powerfully, adding on-field orders. Okay, but also sometimes you know, the on-field orders really, the ones that produce the effect are the ones from the UFOs, meaning that market doesn't reach the moving average. It goes very close to it, but doesn't reach the average before price turns, and in this case starts falling down. Okay, so you know, in this case we have a very beautiful setup, which is two UFOs almost overlapping each other, which create not one but multiple piles of sell on-field orders together. This even without the moving average, this would produce a 78% probability of getting some sort of a bounce to reach the opposing green UFO. So you know, it doesn't seem a crazy idea to enter the trade using the first UFO and using the second UFO, which is the one lining up with the average, as the place where to set the protective stop in case we're wrong. So what we're gonna do is, let me type it, we're gonna set a protective stop above the upper UFO. We're gonna enter short. It's gonna be a short entry located where the bottom red UFO is, and then because it's a short, we expect the price to fall, so we're gonna set up a safety target below entry, and then a final target, okay, all the way where we believe the market is gonna stop moving down and turn in the opposite direction aggressively. Okay, so let's begin with the upper parameters, the stop and the entry. Well, for the entry, really, it's quite simple, to be honest. I'm just gonna click and hold with my mouse the bottom red box, and you can see we got two values there, where the bottom value is 132.88. So 132.88, that's gonna be my shorting price for this particular trade. Now, remember, when we trade spot Forex, and this is one of the tricky parts of spot Forex, spot Forex is not centralized, okay? Yeah, I hear you, Katsaris, but the session is short, and you know, I cannot multiply myself here in that sense, so I rather keep going, and since the session is going to be recorded, you know, we can always notify these other people. But thanks for caring. I actually feel bad about it. So I was saying that because Forex is not a centralized product, so what's happening is that when we chart USDCAD as a ticker symbol, basically what we get is the bid price of the US dollar, Canadian dollar, but we don't get the ask price. So when selling is great because you sell to the buyers are bidding. So 132.88 is what I got from the chart, and the chart is the bid. So that's what I want because I sell to the buyers. But when I protect myself with a stop, I am the one buying. And when I buy from the sellers, not from the buyers. And the sellers are asking. So what I need is I need to find the asking price, okay, for my stop. I need to find the asking price for my safety target, and I need to find the asking price for my final target because, again, the stop and the targets will be by orders. And when you buy from the sellers are asking, but the chart is the bid, okay? So how do I get the asking price? Well, very simple. I just need to use the same symbol, USDCAD, and then I add at the end .A. If I add at the end .A, basically what's happening now is I'm looking at the ask price. Okay, and TradeStation is loading. So hopefully this time it will be a little quicker. Yes, and notice now how the top of this box is 133.14. So 133.14 is the top of the box. So I'm gonna add you know, a couple of pips, and I'm gonna make it 133.16. Okay, 16. 133.16 is going to be my stopping price. Okay, now notice again, if I look at this upper box and I click and hold the box, notice how the top is 133.08. But instead of 08, I'm using 16. Why? Because a protective stop for a short trade is a buy order, and buy is from the ask, not from the bid. Okay. This is one of the reasons why many people get stopped out in trades. Okay, so you always need to add, you know, that excess value, if you wish, when trading spot Forex. Okay, so that's very, very important. Now, so let's say I'm right on the trade and this thing starts falling. How far is gonna go? And in the 5-minute time frame, you know, let me move the candles up to see if there is something below. Well, it seems that there is nothing below. Okay, and why is that? Well, because the Canadian dollar has been dropping for such a long time. So really, in the 5-minute time frame, we got nothing. So what I'm going to do is move to the 15. And when I move to the 15, okay, well, you can see that we have a green UFO as we speak. Okay, we have a green UFO as we speak, but I'm not going to use this UFO as a concern because that UFO is light color. And because that UFO is light color, okay, it means that this UFO had already had orders consumed in the past. So it's a less probability UFO. And therefore, since I'm going to have my safety target before I get to the final target, I want to find my final target to be a real final target. So I'm going to move to the 60-minute time frame, which is the next natural time frame because I got nothing on the 15. And that will bring my ultimate stop to be located all the way to 130.83. Okay, 130.83. But remember, that's the bid price. We need the ask. Okay, we need the ask. So I'm gonna go back to USDCAD.A in the 60-minute time frame and see, you know, this collection of UFOs there. What is the upper price, which is 131.05. So 131.05, let me go back to the 5-minute time frame. 131.05, it's going to be 131.05 is going to be my final target. And my safety target, okay, well, 131.05, realistically, it's much lower than that, isn't it? So we need to compress this a little bit I mean, this is actually is looking like a pretty nice trade, to be honest. Okay, we're talking about a very, very, very nice move here, all the way to something like that. Okay, not like that, but like this. Okay, so 131.05 is more or less down here, where, you know, the entry is more or less like here. Okay, so look at the proportion. If you compare the amount of money you risk, which is the distance between protective stop and stop entry, versus the amount of money you could potentially profit in this trade from 182.88 to 131.05, it's a really nice trade. Okay, now, even though we may be getting excited, which is good, we need to also always manage the risk. So what are we going to do to manage the risk and be able to sleep well at night? Well, we're going to look at the risk of the trade, which is 133.16 minus 132.88, which is a risk of 28 pips. And we're going to project 28 pips below 132.88, which is the entry, bringing a safety target to be located around 132.6. So 132.6 is a safety target that I have calculated using mathematics. There is no green UFO around 132.60, but it's what we would call a 1-to-1. As long as we get a bounce out of those UFOs, which is a 1-to-1, what we expect to happen is we expect the Canadian dollar to fall. And as long as the Canadian dollar reaches 132.60, we would close half of the trade that we have open. With half of the position out at 1-to-1, you basically remove the risk of the trade 100%. So you are now in a risk-free trade. And if we ever reach 131.05, congratulations, we made a fantastic trade. And if you didn't, well, you would end up with a small profit, depending on where you ended up closing the trade. If you trail the stop or a new UFO forms or something like that. But potentially, again, you have a very strong trend that just started developing on the Canadian dollar, and potentially we can join the trend as long as the Canadian dollar rallies to 132.88, and you could enjoy that profit. So this is a trade valid for you to execute, and of course, you know, that would depend on your risk profile, if you wish. You know, you may be a trader who has traded Forex before, and therefore you are very happy with the trade and you're going to take it with real money and a pretty big size. Maybe you're a person who never traded Forex before and you never traded in your life before, and therefore you're going to take this trade with paper money, and maybe you are somewhere in between. So everybody's different. So you decide how you want to execute the trade, but the parameters obviously are in front of you, and this is a great demonstration on how to use the UFOs combined with a moving average. Okay, so I'm gonna give a few more seconds for a screenshot. I would like to take care of your questions, and then I want to move into the equity index markets as well, futures. I want to go back to the futures to see if we can plan one or two more trades before we call it a day, and then we'll finalize the session, because I want to be respectful with the amount of time. The trading sessions are supposed to be short, and again, I'm gonna go beyond past the hour a little bit, just because we had a technical problem on our side here, okay? So, by the way, some of you typed questions earlier, and obviously because of the disconnection, I lost those questions. So please go ahead and copy-paste your questions one more time, so that way I missed no one, okay? And everybody got the answers, okay? So I have a question here. Question here from Brent Wright. So let me get your question. It's a very good question, by the way. I'm going to get your question, Brent, in the main screen, so everybody can read, no matter if you are connected on Facebook or iZone or on YouTube. And the question the question is, Jose, this looks like UFO could easily function as a scanner alerting you when one of these setup is close to entry. Any chance you have one in development? We don't have it at the moment, but I mean, we don't have it. Let me rephrase that. We do have it, but we don't have it in a way that it's designed to be posted on the TradeStation App Store. Okay, but it's good to hear that this is something that sounds interesting to you, because really we could certainly put some time and effort into launching such a product. It would not take much from us in the sense that we have the technology. So if you guys agree with Brent and you feel that this would help you and so on, please go ahead and send us an email to reach@tradewithufos.com. Okay, so let me type it, reach@tradewithufos.com, and then what we'll do is that we'll keep you in mind. We'll consider running this project, which why not? Okay, as I say all the time, and it's because we mean it. We're here to help, so why not? And the moment we launch it, we would let you know. So if you're interested in that, let us know. Okay, great. Another question here is a question from Michael McGehee, where your question, that's a very good question, Michael, as well. Can you tell me which past session presented your trade rules? Okay, and unfortunately, I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you because the way we have been putting the rules together has been little by little. Actually, if you look at the bottom part of my screen, if you look at the workspaces I have here, the one workspace I'm using is known as UFOs EMA Lab. We have another workspace here which is known as UFO Fibo Lab, which is about Fibonacci's. And the idea is that little by little, I've been giving you rules on how to execute certain trades. Of course, for some of you joining us since only a few weeks ago, of course, you have missed a lot of those rules. So in one hand, you can always go back in time and watch the YouTube recordings because they are all there. So you can certainly do that. And I would say you should. But unfortunately as well, if you are joining since a few weeks, so you have missed certain things that we have been explaining that it's quite helpful. Okay, so here is my intention though. Okay, so bad news, Michael. I would not be able to make a list of which videos to watch and what minute I explain it. I don't have that in my mind. Okay, unfortunately. But what I would say is that if you stick around, I will keep rephrasing the rules and how I use them. And maybe today I went a little too fast. So you know what? Next time, slow me down from the beginning. I'm 100% happy with that. If you guys say, hey, Jose, wait a minute, please. Okay, I see your trade. Please explain it again, right? And I would be very, very happy to give you all the details about the rationale and the rules and everything. Not a problem at all, okay? So this is something you could do. And the other thing, as I said before, is that when we do sharpening sessions on Sundays, right now we are covering subjects related to options, but very, very soon we're going to jump into futures and we're going to get into rules, because here's what happens. Okay, I met millions of traders in my trading career, and I went a little exaggerated there with millions, but if I say thousands, that's realistic. And one thing I could tell you is that everybody knows that you have to have rules, but almost no one got rules that are robust enough, that they are trusted enough, or the commitment of follow those rules. Or, most people have too open of a mentality on how to trade, and let's see what happens. And let's see what happens. If you think about it, it's, and I'm not saying that's you, but I'm saying it's many. So maybe some of you, and maybe just because you just started learning how to trade, or maybe not, I don't know, everybody's different. But here's something I know, I've seen it often enough to say it, that many people trade and let's see what happens. And this mentality of let's see what happens, it's normally not good. Okay, so what I want to help you to do as well is to come up with very, very, very specific rules. So if I say something or someone says something about a trade, we all know exactly what we mean because we all follow the same set of rules. Okay, so no subjectivity, no black or white, no, giving you messages where I leave too much room for your interpretation of subjectivity, because this is not going to help you. Okay, the UFO produces a lot of objectivity in the analysis. It gives you stats. It gives you many things to make you more precise, to make you more confident on how you trade and so on. So the only thing missing is to add a collection of rules to not to take every single trade, because taking every single trade will be too much. So you just want to take the highest probability ones within all the trades available. And this is going to be one of the reasons for the rules. And I'm going to be working with you guys on putting all of these together properly. Okay. Again, time is limited, so right now we are focusing on the options in the Sunday sessions. Okay, but believe me, we'll get there. And in the meantime, you may have noticed that I stopped using the FiboLab for a while, and it's not because fibs are not a good idea. It's simply because in a 1 hour session, it was happening too often that some of you would join, having watched prior sessions, and therefore there were too many rules for me to explain in 1 hour, and I would have too little time left to identify market opportunities. Okay, so and again, definitely happy to explain things and so on, but in these trading sessions, I would like to find this balance between explaining but also trading. Okay, that's my ultimate goal, and this is going to be great. I'm envisioning a few weeks, a few months from now, where we have done many of those Sunday sessions that are recorded and archived, where everything has been explained in a properly orderly fashion, and now in the trading sessions we just need to trade because everybody knows the rules. Is that making sense? So Michael, very long answer to you. Short question, but so important that I wanted to give you all that, big picture understanding of why I am doing certain things the way I am. Okay, looking for or attempting to really help you the best I can. Okay. Anyway, so let's go back to the 2-minute time frame, guys. So switching from 2 to 15, and switching symbol from USDCAD to NQM19. So NQM19. Okay, so what do we have here? Good. So the prior close has been below the average. Price came into the UFO, and price is actually above the average now. So even though we have the UFOs, I would say, you could certainly enter the trade now, but we didn't have time to plan for the target or anything. So even though now we do have some UFOs here, and you could plan for that. Okay, this is quite far. Okay, but anyway, normally not a good idea to enter when you are above the average. Okay, so I'm going to leave it alone. What about the S&P 500 June expiration ESM19? So what do we have? We are below the average. Unfortunately, with the S&P, we don't have a red UFO. Okay, so no trades with the S&P and the Nasdaq in that time frame. We also got the clock just tick on the 60-minute time frame. So switching 15 to 60. So I'm looking at the 60-minute time frame in the S&P. The prior close took place below the average, but now price is above. Okay, so yeah, a little bit of a day, which is not too defined, at least for now. So NQM19. What do we have? We had a close above the average. Okay, so with the Nasdaq, actually, we are ready to go long. With the S&P, ready to go short. And unfortunately, we don't have a green UFO. But again, when I say unfortunately, guys, please don't take this as anything negative at all, because what do you need to do? Just review these every 15 minutes. Why every 15 minutes? Because it takes a minimum of 3 candles to form a UFO. So, because the chart above is using the 5-minute time frame, and it takes a minimum of 3 candles to form a UFO. So 3 times 5, 15. So every 15 minutes, you can come back and check if a new green UFO has formed. And if it has formed and is lining up with the average, take the trade. And while you're waiting for this to happen, every 15 minutes, you may have a different close. With the bottom chart, sorry guys, when using the 15-minute time frame, 2-minute time frame combination. Okay, so the idea here is that your process as an intraday trader is kind of like keep rotating. You keep rotating the time frames, you keep rotating the symbols that you decided you want to trade, and the moment you find a trade, you place the order and you go find another trade, and that's it. So up to this point, we found one trade on the Canadian dollar. That's what we found, which is actionable as we speak. So what else are we going to do? Well, look at other trades. So instead of looking at the 5 and the 60, which is what we did on the Canadian dollar, I'm going to look at the 240 and 15. Okay. So on the top, I'm going to switch to 15. On the bottom, I'm going to switch to 4-hour time frame, which is 240 minutes. And you can see how we have the same trend condition on the Canadian dollar. We are in a downtrend. Good news as well. 133.06. It's lining up with our entry between 132.88, 133.16. So actually, the trade that we planned earlier in the 5-minute time frame actually is looking very, very good, guys, because the same trade that you would execute in the 15-240 combination is the same trade that we found on the 5/60 combination. In other words, you have on-field orders added in the market in different time frames lining up with that value of 132.06 or something like that. So again, the trade looks good. But anyway, we got this trade already, so let's go for another trade. Okay, and the next one I would like to check is the yen. So on the yen, what do we have? On the yen, we have a close above the average. Okay, close above the average. The average is 111.40. So you will want green UFOs around that price. Unfortunately, the UFOs here are lining up at 111.26. Okay, so guys, again, not a big deal. Why? Because this thing may do its thing. Okay, may do its thing, and then forms a UFO. Remember, it takes 3 candles to form a UFO, right? And if it does that, now you have a new green UFO, which in my case is blue. You have a new green UFO lining up with, this price of 111.40, which 111.40 is your average. Okay, so just wait 3 times 15, which is 45 minutes, which is the amount of time that you need to wait before you review. Okay, so keep a look, take a look at the yen in maximum 45 minutes. What about the Swiss franc? So with the Swiss franc, we have, I will guess, a downtrend, but we don't have anything red. So forget about the Swiss franc. With the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, which is the Kiwi, we have an uptrend, and we will be willing to see green UFOs around 68.58. But at that price, 58 is more or less here. We got nothing at this moment in time. So just wait, because this market just may come back, form a UFO, and then goes, and then you have it. Again, this may happen in 45 minutes. So be ready to review. The Australian dollar. What do we have? Uptrend. You can see the power of the moving average, how it's supporting the price of this currency. And there have been UFOs here before. I'm telling you. You can see that very quickly. If you move this to hide hit UFOs, you make it false. So you can see how we had UFOs at those prices. Like, for example, if I was to put my cursor here, okay, right there. Okay, right there is that vertical line right here. That vertical line right here, it's that vertical line right here. Okay, so you see, guys, this is what we're looking for. We are looking for price coming into a UFO with the moving average. Okay, because that's giving you a high probability bounce. You remove the risk of the trade when you get to your safety target, and now you are left in a risk-free trade. And now it's all about seeing if you reach your final target or not. But in the meantime, you can even move stops. Okay. Now with the Aussie dollar, we don't have that green UFO right now. So, we'll wait and review this in 45 minutes. With the Great British Pound, we had the prior close. Let me see. The prior close was 71. The average is 62. So we are in an uptrend on the pound. You could have bought using this green UFO because, no, not really. No. Sorry, let me rephrase that. No trade. 132, let's call it 50. 13250 is much higher compared to 61, and therefore the UFO and the average were not lining up. So no trade on these 15 to 140 timeframes. What about the euro? Okay, the euro has an average located at 113.43 and 43. It's more or less here, and more or less here we have no UFO. But again, wait, because it takes 3 candles to create a UFO, and you never know, but 45 minutes from now, you may have a market here producing a trade. So I believe that out of all the currency pairs that we have been exploring, the yen and the euro are the US dollar yen and the euro US dollar. Those 2 currency pairs are likely to give you a UFO soon, lining up with the average. Okay, so those are the ones I would suggest for you to watch every 45 minutes. In the meantime, the US dollar, Canadian dollar, we have a trade already in place, so you can go ahead and execute this trade. You got the parameters given to you earlier. And then before we close the session, I would like to go back to the Nasdaq to see if something has formed. So moving to the 5-minute time frame and 60 below. So 60 below, 5 above. So again, we are in the uptrend on the Nasdaq. Again, no green UFO has formed. We need to review this every 15 minutes because I'm using the 60 and the 5, right? So every 15 minutes. So review that every 15 minutes. By the way, 4 minutes from now, the moving average will update. So this will not likely impact the Nasdaq, but I believe it may impact the S&P based on what I remember from the prior charts we saw. So I'll come back to those time frames in a minute. In the meantime, looking at the S&P, ES, okay, ES. Why is it not allowing me to type the S? ES. Interesting. It is not allowing me to type the S. Okay, so I have to change it from here. Hopefully, yes. ESM19. So what do we have? You see a new green UFO form. Okay, so what do we have? Well, unfortunately, we cannot take this trade. Okay, we cannot trade this trade because the prior close was below the average. And since the prior close was below the average, we are under the assumption that this market is beginning a downtrend, even though price went pretty much above. But again, it may come back down. Okay, you often see candles that look like that, which means that at some point it went all the way to the top, but then it came back down. So in this case, it went all the way to the top, but it may come back down. So because the prior candle had a close below the average, we're going to respect that, and we should be looking for shorts in this time frame for the S&P. So what we're looking for is red UFOs, not green. Unfortunately, we got a green, so we have to wait. It's very simple. But this is nice for you to see how UFOs form as we speak. And that's why you have to review every 15 minutes. Now, before we conclude the session, I would like to go back to my 2-minute time frame and 15. Okay, because this is getting interesting here. Okay, let's anticipate what may happen. We may have a close above the average. Okay, we may have a close above the average. That would happen in 2 minutes from now at 10:15 a.m. If that was the case, the average would be around 28.49, and 28.49 is actually coinciding with this UFO. So what does that mean? That will give you an opportunity for a long. Okay, so let's do this quick. I'm going to look at ES. I'm going to look at my targets first. Okay, so looking at the targets first, I'm going to look at the 5. So looking for the red UFOs, 15. The red UFO is right there. Okay, so red UFO is 52.25. Okay, 52.25. So coming back to the lower time frame, right, to be honest, it's not too exciting. Okay, because 52.25, you know, we just saw on the higher time frame at 52.25 there is a red UFO. Okay, and therefore the line I just draw in here, that would be your ultimate target. So this is going to be a trade which is going to be, you know, kind of like a one-to-one if you take it this way. So what I'm going to suggest is to enter this trade using the inner circle instead of using the top of the box, just to minimize the risk of the trade and therefore to produce a decent reward between entry and target. Of course, if you enter deeper into the zone, you also increase your probability of being stopped out. But you know what? We just had the close of the candle above the average, so this is now meeting the rule, and therefore we're gonna enter this trade. Okay, so 52.25. ESM19. I'm loading it in the matrix here. So I got two contracts. Good. So I'm gonna do a trade with one at a time. So I'm gonna enter at 45.25, and I'm gonna do twice because I want to have two targets. So 1 and 2. So then my final target is gonna be 52.25, which is here. That's going to be my final target. Okay. Yeah, it's... Okay. So 52.25, here we go. Good. So now I separated those two targets. So 52.25, and then I have my... Here we go. So what do we have? My entry, and by the way, let me change this to ESM19. Okay, because here you're going to be able to see my lines. So I got my entries here. My stop is going to be located at 46.5. So 46.5. That's where my stop is being located. So if that's the case, between 48.25 to 46.5, we're talking about 1.75. If I add 1.75 on top of 48.25, which is my entry, that is 50. Okay, so my safety target would be located at 50. Here we go. While my final target would be located at 52.5. Okay, and now the only thing you need to do is to wait, because again, 28.49.65 is where the average is. Yes, we are buying a little below the average, just under the average by a little bit. Is not ideal, but this is what I decided to do because I'm still doing it within the context of the green UFO. So I'm actually doing something that makes sense, and I had to do that to produce a trade with a little bit of a better reward to risk ratio, given the fact that the rival red UFO was too close. It was located at 52.25. Okay, so we're gonna close the session here because I extended the time maybe by a little too much, but at least you have the plan in place. If you want to execute this trade yourself, of course you would take your own trading decisions in this case, in the sense of deciding if you want real capital, you want paper money, you want a big size with many contracts or a small size with few contracts. That obviously would be for you to decide. But in any case, during the next 15 minutes, this trade is valid. If the next candle, when the next candle begins, this candle is still above the average, then this trade will remain valid as long as the average and the UFO are more or less of this price. Okay, and by the way, right now you can see this price is 49, which is above, a little above the UFO. Okay, but remember, it's not a problem, because if this comes down, which is what you need for you to get filled, okay, the average will also experience a little bit of a movement to the downside. right? And therefore, instead of 49, it may become 48.5, 48.2, which guess what? That's our entry price. Okay, so again, this trade is valid for now. The moving average conditions are what you need to watch to know if this trade remains as valid for the following minutes to come. Okay, having said all of that, guys, it's been a pleasure to spend some time together doing something we love, which is to trade. Hopefully the session was useful to you guys, and you learn from the rules that I've been sharing with you and the application. And hopefully the UFOs are helping you greatly in your trading, guys. Okay, so next time we will see you, it's going to be on Thursday. So on Thursday, we're going to be running a get-together session. Loading, get-together session here, March 21st. That's going to be Thursday. The session will be for longer term. So we'll be looking at Forex, we'll be looking at options, and it's going to be a great session as well. Okay, and then I will see you over the weekend for sharpening on the 24th Sunday. Okay, guys? So see you in 1 day, 22 hours, 39 minutes from now. And one last message before we go, guys, because this is just happening as we speak. Notice how a new UFO just formed. Now, don't take that one because 2850 is above the average. So don't take that one. But if 10 minutes from now, the candle closes and the average, okay, the average was to move up into the next candle, and the average becomes 2850.5, 2851, something like that, well, then guess what? You could cancel this trade and replace it using the new UFO that just formed. That is how you follow a trend, and you don't jump on board. You're not the kind of like the first guy carrying the flag, if you wish, but at the same time, you don't miss the trade. Is that making sense? So that's how you would do it. Okay. So guys, wish you the best. Looking forward to see you on Thursday. You guys take care, my friends. Bye bye. See you soon.